Become a podcast buddy now and get exclusive access to the new podcast episodes. You can find more information about this on my website schulze-kopp.de.
Welcome to this podcast.
Water Polo Expert Talk. Get the insights. We continue with the next episode of the Water Polo Expert Talk podcast, and we have today a special guest, a well-known guest, I guess. We have Felipe Perrone here in the podcast. So welcome to the podcast, Felipe. And it's up to you at the beginning. So welcome, and I hand it over to you, maybe for a short introduction. Maybe we do not need so many introductions from you yourself.
Hi, Andreas. Thank you very much. Hi to everyone. I'm Felipe Perrone. I'm the captain of the Spanish national team. And it's a lot of things to talk about. So it's difficult to say to the introduction. But I mean, I'm a water polo player. I was born in Brazil. And I moved to Spain with 16 years old. And I was playing with Brazilian national team, and then I changed to Spanish national team, and then for the Olympics I played with Brazil, and then back with Spanish, and my club career I was lucky enough to be in many places, like in Italy, in Croatia, in Brazil, of course, here in Spain. So this was a little bit a small resume.
So I would absolutely agree with you that there's so many things to talk about, maybe that we have so many topics to talk about that maybe we are not finally done at the end of this first period here in the podcast. But if you mentioned that you start playing water polo in Brazil, so not in Spain where you actually live, how do you come to play or in touch with water polo at the very beginning? So is it also a popular sports in Brazil, or what is the popularity of water polo in Brazil?
No, it's not popular. Not at all.
Not at all.
Brazil is just like soccer and soccer. So and it's funny.
So maybe in this case we have the same problem in Germany. So we have also soccer and soccer. Yeah.
And then other sports, no. But I when I said that I was born in Brazil, everybody expect that I play really good soccer, and I'm a horrible player. But my father was a water polo player, and my brother was he's still playing. So my brother is still playing. So, but it was like a family issue. So I'm 10 years younger than my brother. So they were always going to the training session, and they leave me in the swimming pool. So I had nothing to do, and I started to play with the ball. So this is why I get in love with this sport.
Okay, yeah, so it was somehow a family issue, as you mentioned before, and then also maybe the fact that somebody saw you in the pool playing this, or seeing this little kid playing around with the ball. It's somehow family issue and by accident, so that you do not have to really to say, okay, I play water polo or soccer, for example, because when you are a horrible player in soccer, then the direction was clear.
And I was lucky because I was member of a club in Rio de Janeiro, that it's like it was a poor club, and they don't have many members, so the swimming pool was always empty. So I was having many time to play. This is a big issue for everywhere in water polo, that you don't have it's difficult that you have the space to play and to. So the club that I was in Brazil, there is no one actually. The club was horrible, so it was great that the swimming pool was so ugly that people were scared to be in the swimming pool. So it was perfect to start to play water polo.
Okay, yeah. So in this case, you do not have in the further career steps, you do not have any problems to, spring into the pool or a lake, for example. Yeah, so which is not really clear because you know this from your first years of water polo then in Brazil. Yeah.
It was like a black hole in the swimming pool, and everybody said that it was monster there. So many kids, they didn't want to swim close to this hole, So it was great.
Yeah. So do you have, during your looking backwards to the very beginning of your water polo career, saying, okay, this was from the perspective I have now, backwards to the beginning, the right decision to say, okay, I go with the decision playing water polo instead of, I don't know, soccer, for example?
Yes, for sure. I think I'm really happy and proud to be a water polo player. I think our sport, they have some special characteristics, and we are not we are a small community, but we are a very strong community. I think the way to play the game, that you always need someone to pass you the ball, that it's a really tough game. This is make we like a strong community, and I'm really proud and I'm really happy. Of course, if I play soccer and I was like Messi, maybe it was better to be a soccer player. But I'm really happy and proud to be a water polo player.
Maybe in this case, when we have the similarity to Messi in this case, maybe there are some people out there saying, okay, you will like a water polo Messi instead of Messi on the soccer field. Yeah, so maybe this is a fair standing to each other, against each other. Yeah, so you in the water polo area and Messi in the soccer area. Yeah, so I'm quite sure that there's a lot of people saying, okay, I have some idols or people I'm looking for, like you in this case, in terms of water polo. Yeah.
Thank you. Like Messi, for me, is the best player in history. But I would say my way of playing is more like, let's say, Iniesta or Xavi, because Messi is just Messi. But anyway, but thank you for the.
Yeah, so when you mentioned the water polo community, it's really also something I experienced over the last couple of years. So until I started the podcast, to be honest, that we have maybe instead of soccer community, a little bit of familiar, a little bit stronger community in the water polo community. Yeah, and during these days where it's somehow much more easier to get in touch with each other. Yeah. So like today, for example, then we have also somehow the chance to highlight or to bring water polo to more people. Yeah. So in order to do not have any more the problem in the future to say, okay, do you know water polo? No, I don't know anything about water polo. Is this a sport? Yeah. So maybe then in this case, we have really the chance at the moment, due to the fact that, as you mentioned, that we have a really small but fine community here in water polo.
Yeah, and I think we have like some characteristics which are, some are good, some are bad. Like, I mean, I think it's a really tough sport, so this give us this feeling, team spirit feeling. But we are really I think almost all water polo players, we feel really ashamed to be too much individual. No, and we can see that we have a problem to really promote the sport. No, I can talk by myself. Like, I just opened like social media like a year ago or 8 months ago. I was always like feeling comfortable to do like social media promotion and that kind of things. And this is a really problem about our culture too. I think we have good things, but we have some bad things like the one that I mentioned before.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I also, this brings some conversation I have with Tony Azevedo, for example, who says at the very beginning of the podcast, so some of the episodes with him was really at the early days of the podcast here, saying, okay, it's the responsibility of all our community members, all players, coaches, clubs, and so on and so forth. So to do something to promote our sport a little bit more. And when each of us doing a little bit more, then we have a big result, or much more better result at the end.
Yeah, Tony was one of my idols. I always I loved the way he played. I was lucky to be in his home when I was 13 years old, and I've learned this from him. Like, he's completely right. Like, all stakeholders, we must do this. It's part of our job. If we love this sport, no.
Yeah.
So I think it's an important step in our the view and the culture of our sport.
Yeah. So this was also then, to come back to the early days of the podcast, really also my thing, or my thoughts about this, because I love the sport so much. So during the pandemic, we were not able to do anything, and this was the only vehicle, or the thing I can do, and it's still growing. Yeah, so it's I'm not really done at the moment, not already. Cool. So you mentioned already the fact that you are going in touch, or come in touch with water polo, also based on your family. How important was it for you that you also have a father, for example, or brother who also playing water polo in your family? So was it very important, or is it nice to have? What do you think?
I think my father was always trying to not make pressure, no? And on that moment was because he was playing Brazilian national team, so it was a lot of comparisons, no? Like the younger brother, how he'll be, but he's always trying to protect me from that. But I think the good thing for me was like they was always trying to give me a lot of values as an athlete, and so I think as more than water polo, I mean they were water polo players, and they knew how was important to the game those values, and they were always trying to help me, and I was lucky to have them to be my side all those journey.
Yeah. So do you think also when you mentioned that your father was not really giving you so much pressure, beside the fact that he's playing a Brazilian national team and so on, so do you think this was also because, why I'm asking is, it's sometimes or often the case that kids from water polo players are also playing water polo, and then you do have exactly this situation. As a parent, for example, from a view of a parent, it's not really easy, yeah. So to remove these kind of pressure, or even if you do not, do not give the pressure to the kid or to your child. On the other side, it's really recognized as a pressure, for example. So it's not really easy situation from both sides.
And this happened. I think it happened in all sports. No, like in soccer, it's a lot of pressure to the kids, and many sports they have this issue. But I think in my case, as I said, like my father was really trying to don't make any pressure. But I mean, he don't do it, but he was always bringing me to the swimming pool to watch his training session. So
somehow there was some kind of
pressure. Yeah, he was pushing me to play water polo. No, he's not giving me any other way.
Yeah, but at the end he was right. Yeah, so I think that's a conclusion.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, so it was right. And then you also mentioned that you starting in Brazil, and then the switch or the move comes to Europe. So are there any, let's say, concrete arguments or points where you say, okay, this was the reason for me personally, because I have to move to Europe at this stage?
You know, like looking back, it was like I didn't realize on that moment, because I was really in love with the sport and was not thinking too much. But if I look back, like with 16 years old, come to live in Europe, it is like a huge step. My brother was here. My brother was like a water polo player too, and as I said before, he's still playing. But he came here before, and our grandmother was from Spain, so we have always the double nationality. So he got here in Barcelona. He started to play, and I was in Brazil. Look at him like on the Spanish television. I said, "Oh my God, I want this for my life." You know, so. I just said like this is like the best way to live my life, and I moved here to Barcelona and start like as a professional water polo player.
Yeah. So also in this case, I would say, looking backwards, absolutely the right decision. But as you mentioned, in the age of 15, 16, yeah, so it's maybe not the easiest time to make these kind of steps. Moving really the countries from Brazil to Spain, or to Europe. Then in this case,
are there any? My parents they stayed in Brazil, so I was here. Just my brother was like the person from my family, and I think when I saw some kids now from 16, 15 years old, I'm just like, oh my God, like with this age I was here, like, and it's really, it's something, of course, I love the sport, so I didn't have that feeling in this moment because I was just like, okay, the training session, and I was thinking more on those, on the small, like say, goals that I had on that moment, but in general, it's not easy. On that point, just my parents were really pressuring me to study, and so I finished like my high school. I did the university here, so because this is another important thing. Like, you never knows that water polo it's a small sport. It's very difficult to leave from water polo. So there was always like, okay, you can go, but you need to keep studying and do both things, not just water polo.
Yes, because also when you say, okay, you are not really aware how this career will go. Yeah. So at the very beginning,
exactly, you can get injured. Many things can happen.
Yeah, yeah. So, and in this case, I would say there are so many classical parents, maybe also listening to the podcast, saying, "Okay, you need a plan B." Yeah, at least when career maybe is going not in the right direction, you think at the beginning, then you have also something where you can concentrate on after that.
Exactly, and in my opinion, the combination is perfect because water polo gives to you this strength of patience, resilience, many things that when you were going to the study issues, like you keep these characteristics, this personality on you, like, and I think so. The combination, it's always perfect because many parents are worried too, like, okay, if you play water polo, you are losing time that you could be studying, but I mean, in my opinion, I think like when you play water polo, you get much more like good things that you can bring to your study life, to your work life, let's say like that.
Yeah. So these is also a point which comes in many podcast episodes so far, because when you play water polo or over a long period of time, you have really the chance, or in most of the cases, you will receive not only the aspect from the sport, but also, as you mentioned, all the socializing things and things between humans, and it's not really only the sport. Yeah, so social behavior, social aspects, as you mentioned, the strengths, and really to go also to the study as you do go to the practice.
Exactly.
So there are so many parallel items on both sides where you can benefit from each other. Yeah.
Of course, it needs to be a balance, but like you can take good advantage from both things. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and not so many people can really live from their water polo career, to be honest. Yeah. So there are not so many people.
Not so many, not just a few, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you moved from Brazil to Spain or to Europe, do you think, or do you have special difficulties or big differences between water polo in Brazil and Spain, for example, at the beginning of your career in Europe? So are there big differences between the sense of water polo, strategy of water polo? What do you think about these differences between the countries?
It was like a huge difference. I think if I like just remember like main things, the first one was like the pace of the game. Like in Spain, water polo is really fast, and this is still like this one of the main characteristics of Spanish water polo, that kind of fast game. The decisions are very fast, players are very fast. And the second thing, it was one guy, like he told me, and I was lucky to have my brother always helping me on this journey. And he was telling me, like, look, here people are like, it's expression, Spanish expression, to say they are fighting for the milk, for the kids' milk. So like people are really like, it's their job, like they're playing, like they're giving all they can because their money depends of the of this game. So it's a completely different way to approach the game, no? So I think these two things were the things that I feel more like.
Yeah, and you already mentioned that you're also lucky enough to play also in other countries like Italy or Croatia. Are there also some kind of differences between the style of water polo? Because I could imagine that in Croatia, for example, it's more physical, and in Spain it's more flexible or more dynamic and more faster, for example. And in Italy, it's, I don't know. What do you think?
Like when I moved to Italy for the first time, it was in 2007 that I went to play in Savona, and I was like really impressed because on that moment in Spain, the tactics was not so clear. We were playing more like intuition game. So in Italy, on that moment, when I got to Savona and the other clubs that I was playing against, they always had like a really like 4 or 5 systems of defense, 4 or 5 systems of man up. They were like, it was really, really well prepared, all the game in the tactical sense. I'm talking about 2007, no? And comparing this time with Spain. Now in Spain, of course, we are doing like not the same thing, but we grow on this on this direction. And looking to Croatia, I have the feeling that it's difficult to generalize because I was actually in one club, no, so it's difficult to. But trying to say like an overview of the Croatian water polo, I have the feeling that they have a system, a way of play that they are specialists in every position. Like and they when I was playing in Italy or Spain, the positions were changing a little bit more, and in Croatian you were always like you are a specialist in 2-3 things. And in that moment of my career, it was so important because Vjeko Kobešak, that was with you here, one great coach and great friend, and he helped me a lot because let's say that in Spain I was trying to do many things. And when I got to Croatia, I said, okay, do just those 2-3 things that you are the best, and that's it. Other things, other players will do. And it's a different way of think about water polo.
To come back to the actual water polo, let's say idea maybe, or the strategy. It's also the same in other countries, yeah. So that you are a specialist.
Like I'm giving the example of Croatia, that what's happened to me. And I think it's talk about how is the Croatian water polo comparing to Spanish and Italy. I think in Spain and Italy, we switch more positions, and in Croatia, it's more like, okay, you gotta, you have the best lefty, the best center forward, the best center back. You know, you don't switch too much. So it was my experience, but I think it can be general on this big and like overview of the Croatian water polo.
Yeah, so it absolutely makes sense. Yeah, so that you are really concentrate on your 2 or 3 jobs in the during the match instead of doing everything. We're
exactly.
maybe not a specialist. Yeah, and when you have a professional specialist for center defender or center forward, then you do not need to go in the center forward position when you do have a specialist for that.
Exactly. Yeah, but maybe in Spain and Italy, as we move more, you are usually change your position on the field, no? But in Croatia, like they do not move too much, so the positions are more like fixed, to say like that.
When we are talking about or thinking about the to make water polo a little bit more popular, also in the kids area, children area. Do you have also the problem in Spain that you do not really get enough kids to start playing water polo? Because in Germany or other countries here in Europe, you do really have at least the feeling or the impression that we do not have really enough kids starting with playing water polo.
Yeah, we have this problem in I'm talking like we say in Spain, but actually I think in Barcelona it's working pretty well. The problem is in Spain, the country. No? In Barcelona there are many clubs, there are many kids playing water polo. I don't have the data here, but I would say even the water polo is growing. Like women's, they are doing like amazing because they're getting great results, and many girls started to play water polo a few years ago. And but we have the problem, let's say, in the country, and I think this is an issue in every place, like to how to grow water polo to make more kids play.
Yeah. So I also talked about this with other Spanish players or players playing in Spain, which are each time saying, okay, we have this concept of the center, so that we have a center here in Barcelona where we have really the chance to concentrate or to have the kids in one place at least for dedicated of time, and then they go back to the home club and then coming back on the regular basis to Barcelona.
This is great.
Makes it.
This is great, but we are talking about high level. Now we are not talking about to grow the sport. It's different ways. I mean, like this national center, it's a great thing and it's a great idea. Actually, my nephew, the son of my brother, is living and playing in this center. And but we are talking about high level, which is great, but other issue is how to grow the sport and how more kids can play the game.
Yeah. So, and this is, let's say, for each of the countries, really a specific thing how to move that or how to grow the community here, and give also other new kids the chance to start with water polo in each of these countries. You already mentioned that you're also playing in Italy, or so we talked about Savona. You also had the chance to play in Recco. So for most of the water polo players, it's, let's say, somehow the final goal, maybe to play or to have the chance to play at this spot in Italy. How was it for you? So was it a dream coming true also for you?
Yeah. Indeed, for me, it was the same. Like, I was like, okay, like I got in Recco. This is amazing. And in that moment, now they are doing like amazing. But at that moment, they were trying to bring like best players from everywhere. So I think in my second year, we were 25 players. So can you imagine? It was an amazing experience. And for me, it was the first contact, the first time that I was really seeing how, let's say, Filipovic training and works, like Tamas Casas, how he does, Andrea Polenovic, Sandro Sukno, many guys that I forget now to mention, but Ivovic, that they were there at that moment, and it for me I was so happy, but it was a huge let's say. It was a big challenge for me to be there and play with these guys. Of course, they're amazing guys, but it's like a great team. But it's not easy to do your best in such an amazing team, no?
So I'm not really in a position to say I could imagine this kind of situation, but so it's somehow strange, so because you're already in touch on a regular basis during the Champions League, also still at the moment with your guys from Recco. Are there still some connections today when you see each other and play against each other? So it's somehow this is the point. I could imagine it's somehow special to play against your former teammates then, or club.
Absolutely, and it was. I mean, on that moment when there was like many stars from every country in the same club. Like, as I said, probably today they are the best team in the world. They are playing like a team, amazing. But on that moment, we were like the best players from every country in the same club. So it was like, and the best Italians, of course, it was Maurizio Felugo, Tempesti, many like legends players on the same plus and same spot, and it makes you cannot imagine how was the training sessions like.
A training session like Champions League match, and
we are all really competitive. Like all those guys, like to reach this level, they are like really competitive guys, and we were having like training sessions that it was maybe the best training session that I ever had in my life. So Pino Porzo was the coach. He was loving to do training sessions like 4 against 4. So you had like 2 like world national teams playing one against the other. And it was nice. Yeah. It was really nice.
Yeah, and maybe then this is also some kind of the experience you also benefit from right now. Yeah, so during the whole career, I guess.
Yeah, just not just like the playing, but to see how those guys have this kind of this work ethics, how they work, how they approach the game. And on that moment, I was 24, 25 years old. And of course, I'm still learning a lot. But on that moment, I was like, oh my God, I'm just like want to see what those guys does. How's the Hungarians, how they are training. Tibor Benedek was there too, Madaras. So like all these top players were in the same place. And I was like a kid, like just trying to learn from them.
Yeah. So it's somehow like Christmas. Yeah. So it's each time really good to get these kind of competition with these guys and get so many feedback and so many input where you can benefit during your whole career afterwards. Yeah. So it's
absolutely
so many things. Maybe one question in this direction. So you mentioned so many great players who are still active right now, or playing as a water polo player, or are coach at the moment. Do you think, so what is the difference between a really great water polo player and maybe somehow a leader? So do you have there also some experience during your record time, for example, or also right now during your time in Barceloneta? But do you have somehow an idea what is the difference between these two roles and the definition of that, of a good leader?
A good player and a good leader. I think in my opinion, there are many ways to be a leader, but there is one thing of course, it's your accountability, your responsibility, your way to approach this thing, to understand that you're gonna assume some more accountability and responsibility. And the other thing probably is like how if you are worried about other players, or if you're worried about your teammates, worried in a good sense, and I mean, or not, or for you, doesn't matter what are they doing. No? And I think that this thing I could see in some players and others not. Like if you are really worried about your team or not, and it seems like very basic thing, but many times you can have this feeling when you are in a changing room or you are playing. You can feel who is really worried about the team and who is just worried about himself. Or not like, there's not extremes, but let's say that the balance are not too much on the way to be a leader. Or
so but maybe this is some good criteria to say where we have the split between then, let's say, only a good player and then somehow somebody who's able to be a leader somewhere in the future. Yeah. So this is maybe then the aspect where we have to switch or the split between these two roles.
It's not easy, this balance. It's happened many times, like even today, that you win the game and some guy didn't play well. He's more like he's sad because he didn't play well. But of course, on one side, this is good because this is push him to play better. But from the other side, so you are much more worried about you than your team. So finding this balance is not easy, and I think, in my opinion, a leader needs to find this balance to like push him to be a better player, but to be happy when your teammates are playing well and winning too.
So and.